Merry meet and welcome. Today we're going to be taking on the Za'atar Manaquish. So hopefully I pronounced that right, or hopefully, you know, was respectful. But I'm very excited. So I was at my Asian market and this was the only one I found of this too. So I don't know if I just got lucky, if they don't normally carry it. But I was very happy because it literally, this is what we're making right here. So like, of course you have the right spice if it's right here on the thing. So I'm very excited. With that being said, we are making it completely from scratch. So it does look like this is actually a vegan dish already, which is very exciting. Yeah, and so we're going to get started. We have our lukewarm water. Put that in there. We have some salt. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Some sugar, and then we do have our yeast. So we're just going to combine these, give them some time to bloom. And then I really like this recipe because it tells you like how many, what the measurements of active dry yeast you need in case you like have them not in packets, but it also tells you how many packets. I just think that's huge. If you know, you know. But anyways, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna fully put this to the side. Merry meet again. So here we are. Now we have our flour, and then we have, this is actually salt, or teaspoon salt. And then I don't have a different whisk today. My other one unfortunately is dirty because I'm doing 2 recipes in one day today. Look at me go. Mental health way up. So with that, we'll obviously have some stuck here, but that's okay. We'll be fine, you know. And then it says to go ahead and do 2 tablespoons. I feel like this is a little bit more than 2 tablespoons, so we're gonna hold back a little liquid. And we're gonna go ahead and mix this together until it forms a little bit. See, this is another one where it's like, what's the best way to mix it? Because so we're treating this like a fat, right? Like you would a butter, to maybe it helps get like a crumbly texture. I don't know. But essentially I would just mix this, and you can probably get your hands in there. That's what you normally do with butter, so that's what I'm gonna do real quick to help break up the fat pockets. But essentially I feel like you can do this, you can mix this until your yeast blooms, because that's going to be the next thing that we do, is we're gonna make a well and we're going to add in our yeast mixture. And so just having an eye on that to the side. Shouldn't take long. Yeah. Yeah, I'm just following intuition. I just feel like I accidentally did a little bit too much oil on that. So that's okay. We'll just add that tablespoon to the half a cup that we're using for the actual spice topping. I'm also so excited because this takes like so little things, because like you may or may not have yeast in your pantry. And then the spice though, of course, finding that or ordering it is a step that you have to do. But once you have it, I mean, look at how much I have found. There was not a smaller quantity, but being able to find that, it means like I'm gonna be able to make this like all the time. So I'm very excited also because if you look on the mixtures, it is just more spices. I think it said like thyme, sesame, pepper, I think celery. But yeah, so it's just, it's a spice mix, truly. Okay, this is crumbly. I'm seeing our yeast is literally in the process of blooming. So let's go ahead, make a little bit of a well here. And so this is going to be a fun recipe, like if you have sensory issues, to like test against that. So that kind of seems to be a bit of the theme lately. But yeah, and so it did just bloom. If you wanted to wait on your yeast longer, you totally can wait on it and allow it to continue to bloom a bit more. So I'm gonna actually clean up a little bit on the side, and we're gonna check in and I'll finish to just give this yeast a little bit more time. Marry me again. So as you can see, we have it bloomed here, and so we're gonna go ahead and put in our yeasty water and start getting this mixed up. This is going to be a dough that you end up kneading, so you are going to incorporate it as much as possible. And then for us, we're gonna add flour to this surface when we remove our bowl, and then we're gonna dump out the dough. Yeah, it's I feel like this is a very standard bread, if I'm being honest. Like, I think if you've never made bread, if you don't have like a lot of patience for it, this is going to be one of the better ones to make. I don't know, maybe it's because oil is easier to work with, because I think that's the really only main difference at this point. But yeah, so we're seeing here, it's going to be doing that, but it's going to, we're going to just want to make sure to get it elastic. So from here, because at this point, I just want to get my hands on it. So we're just going to go ahead and move this bowl, flour the surface, and start kneading. I was just thinking, like, you know how sometimes I feel like most people don't wear aprons when they're in the kitchen. Like, this is a prime example of when you would want to wear an apron in the kitchen, because you're working with like just stray flour so much. Okay, so I'll use my hands to get the rest of that all together. Put that to the side. Okay, so now we're just gonna knead. And so through this kneading process is how I'm going to help incorporate these little bits and pieces, and to help get that smooth, much more elastic texture. As you can see, I'm wearing not a good sweater because it keeps falling down, but it is a good enough sweater that it cleans easy enough. It doesn't keep any stains, which is amazing because it's white, and I love this sweater. Hence why I'm wearing it. Anyways. So yeah, so we're kind of seeing it form there. And then, of course, as you knead, you're going to have it picking up the flour from underneath. So you want to be careful that you readjust. All right. But this is pretty elastic if you're looking at it. So it has some stickiness, and I kind of wish this part would completely come together. So that's not bad. Yep. So that was on me. I just wasn't kneading it to its fullness. But I do feel I probably could have added the extra oil, and it would be able to hold it, because the more liquid, this is my belief, I could be wrong. Just to put it out there, this is just an observation that can be wrong. But I believe when you have more liquid, you're able to refrain from those breaks, because it helps add to the elasticity of it all. So anyways, this will be the last part. Okay, I have to stop working it, right? We don't want to work any more gluten into it. Gluten is what makes it chewy. Any dough chewy. Okay, so now I just want to form it into a dough ball as much as possible. Okay, so here we go. I'm gonna go ahead. We have an oiled bowl here. We're gonna put this, and then we have a dish towel. We're gonna throw a dish towel over it, and we're going to place it somewhere warm. And so right now my house is not too warm, so I'm gonna put it in the oven. Oven is not heated. If you do have an oven that you had heated and it is cooled down, that is great. You do not want the oven on though. Just to be very clear, this is just because you want to have heat, and we're just gonna let this rise up, and I'll check in with you in about an hour and a half. Marry me again. So here we are, hour and a half later after. So we see it has risen here, and so we are gonna go ahead, punch down the dough a little bit, and we're going to go ahead, take it out of here, and we're going to, I just didn't want to prepare another baking sheet, so since this has to be floured anyway for me to do this, we're going to form our 8 balls and put them on here. And so we're gonna go ahead, twist. I just think continuing to half, so then this should be, okay, I'm like trying to think. So yeah, so then these should be 4, and then these should be 1. So we're just gonna portion them, and then we'll make them look nicer in just a second. But yeah, there's like, if you, like, there's always a like, oh, roll it out and dose it up. I'm not doing that. So we're just going to do this, and then we want them to, we're going to cover them and let them rise again for another 30 minutes. So not too much more. My house, I decided I was going to go ahead and like heat up the entire house so that we had this going. It just, you know, sometimes it doesn't make sense, and I try to be eco-friendly, so I try to just heat the areas that I'm actively using. But anyways, I don't know how big these are gonna get, so I'm just trying to give them enough space. And yeah, we will go ahead, check in, and then we'll actually do the final forming for what is going to make this the Za'atar Manaquish. So check in with you soon. Marry me again. So it's been half an hour, so this is still here. I wanted to show you real quick. We have half a cup of oil, and then half a cup of the Za'atar spice. And so with this, I'm just now realizing it's a 1-to-1. So if you're doing this, it's really nice and easy. If you're like, ooh, I want to add more, then you can. We're just going to mix them all together. I'm using the same whisk from earlier because why create more dishes? And then this now is going to be what we top the bread with, and this is what makes it the Za'atar Manaquish. So I'm very excited. We're gonna do this. I'm kind of realizing I maybe don't have the right setup in order for us to see this. Maybe I do. Let's see. Okay, so the fact that they're touching does in fact prove that they did start to move towards each other. So that's good. For a second I was getting nervous. Alright, so now what we are going to do is we're going to go ahead and take one of these, and what you do, we may bake these in multiples, but essentially you go ahead and flatten it, and it says into 5-inch discs, so I think that's probably even bigger than we need to. Okay, and so we're gonna go ahead and do that again here. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this with the other ones, and I'll check in with you when we're putting the toppings on top. Marry me again. So I was doing the other 6 to kind of test out. So it's about a tablespoon and a half, I would say, per one, maybe 2 tablespoons. And just literally pouring it on top of this. And so I am, for one, very excited. I think this is going to taste so good. And because this is just going to now bake at the 400-degree oven, and it only goes for about like 7 or 8 minutes. So we want the bottoms to be slightly browned, and to really see some of those edges, but we are going to see it remain a little bit liquidy because we're putting so much like oil on top, and so it is that short bake. This one kind of has a little bit more dough on it, so I want to match the dough to the seasoning. And yeah, there we go. I'll go ahead and check in with you when we're doing our taste test. Marry me again. So here it is. This is probably one of the cleaner ones. I probably could have grabbed one that was like definitely like had so much on it. This one was one that was like, oh, we're running out of so with that, I will say definitely if you're like, oh, it still looks so doughy, that is why the recipe is like it is going to look liquidy, because I went ahead and I put like a toothpick or like just something to poke the dough, and it was like came back and it came through, and I was like, oh, okay, this actually has been cooking. And I was like so prepared for it to just be dough. And so I definitely, the 7 to 8 minutes is the right timing. I for a second was gonna be like, oh no, add a little bit more, but no. So just test it. Don't trust your eyes. Test. You will need to feel it. And then I did let it cool for 5 minutes. I probably could have let it cool for a little bit longer, but I'm honestly so excited. So yeah, let's look at that. Okay, so maybe I could have had mine baked for a little bit longer, but nothing that's gonna harm you. Okay, it's so hot. Okay. Oh my gosh, it's so good. I love it, but I also like spice and experimenting with spice. And so if you don't, this might not be the best, like most exciting thing. Um, but I also think it's well worth it to try it, especially because you can pair with other things. Like this, it would be so good with, and I don't know, it would like what's hearsay or not, but like tzatziki sauce or hummus. And then it does recommend like fresh things. Something I'm going to do. I'm actually making this like before the traditional American holiday of Thanksgiving, and so these are actually going to be my buns, and I'm kind of excited. I'm going to have some sweet potato mash, and I think it's going to be really good on top of this, especially with like a tofu made to taste like turkey, you know, like it's gonna be like, ooh, yum, you know, like that roast. So I'm really excited. I think it's just gonna add like a nice little like elevate the flavors of the meal. So I'll see you guys in the next one, and I hope you're enjoying yourself wherever you are. Bye.